Welcome to Decentralized News. Give us 30 minutes and we'll keep you at the tip of the spear in the cryptoverse with the biggest headlines of the week. I'm your host, Piter, joined as always by Aussie. Your time is valuable. Let's get right into it. You got a little overview for us today, Aussie?
Yeah, we're going to dive into 4 or 5 big topics. First, Bitcoin halving. We're not that far away. Alongside the Bitcoin ETFs, we're going to talk about ETH and the ETH ETFs. We are going to dive into Solana and transactions going on there. And then we're going to do a nice deep dive on a little bit of macro and the altcoin speedrun. So a quick show, but a great one. Stay tuned.
Well, the big story, obviously, is the halving is nigh. We are within 2 weeks of the big Bitcoin halving. This one, 100% unique from the previous 3. This is only the 4th halving. Little fun fact, there's going to be 64 of them. And the last one's going to happen in the year 2140. And while we are only in the 4th one, 93% of the total supply has already been mined. So this is going to start to have a big effect. So like the first halving went from 50 to 25. This halving is going from 6 to 3.125. And the next one will go to 0.5 plus half of 0.125, like a little more than that.
Yeah.
So it just, how much it decreases just gets smaller and smaller. So a lot of the Bitcoin's already out there. We're all going to be fighting over the last million Bitcoin here pretty soon. But this is very different in that we hit an all-time high before the halving. Now, this is because of the decades-long fight for a Bitcoin spot ETF. But we are in uncharted territories. No one can ever tell you it's going to be the same. So it'll be fun to watch this year and see what happens. The first one that happened, nobody knew. Is price going to go up? Price going to go down? Is it priced in? Nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. So it seems like a foregone conclusion. It goes up, but history rhymes, but it's never the same.
Exactly. And let's see, in 2140, I don't think either of us are going to be around. Think about that. The last halving will probably be dead.
For sure. That will be long gone. It's like hopefully we can save some Bitcoin for the grandchildren. I always tell myself I'm saving for the next generation.
Absolutely. We might be there at the 32nd halving and say, hey guys, we were here at the 4th when all of our grandkids are talking about how, oh my God, it's the 32nd or the 50th halving. And we'll be like, we remember the 4th.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's get in a little bit of Bitcoin news, touch on the ETF. The Bitcoin ETFs have regained momentum last week. So the start of the week, April Fool's Day. We were dumping a little bit. Spot Bitcoin ETFs witnessed a dip, but also a rebound throughout the week. So total weekly inflow after the week closed out was positive 484 million, despite being down to start. But this was down from the week before, which is 845 million. Still driving the market, this ETF story, and GBT is a part of it because they have been selling, but eventually they're going. And we'll get into that a little bit. And then just a little fun fact, BlackRock and Fidelity have taken positive inflows, 59 straight days. And in terms of streaks for all ETFs of all time, they're in the record books now as top 20, and their streak is still alive. And just in case you were curious who number 1 is that they're going for, it was 160 days by a ticker called JEPI.
JEPI, which is a dividend income stock. That was a pretty big record, but we're close to halfway there. Another 20 days and we hit the halfway mark. So maybe.
I think it's a sign of its success in general.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they at least get close to that mark, because thinking about the fact that we hit the halving, we're heading into a bull run. Maybe the Bitcoin ETFs make their own record.
Yeah, they could smash it. It's possible.
Yeah. 2-year-long straight of inflows. Possible.
A year, even 6 months would put us pretty close. What, 150? No, 6 months would beat it. 6 months from now would kill it.
Oh, absolutely. Looking at the Grayscale ETF, which I guess hasn't set a record for itself because it's just been straight outflows for the most part. It's experienced the largest outflows of any ETF since 2009 at over record. 15 billion to date. So that's a pretty massive record of outflows. Considering 2009, we were talking 2008 crisis, that's pretty severe. the fund right now has about 328,000, and that's about 22.6 billion. So they're getting close to half. They're not quite at half, but they're approaching the halfway mark on their Bitcoin. Looking at an average outflow of about 5,100 Bitcoin per day. It's bleeding out, and if it were to continue at this pace, it would run out by July 8th. So essentially,
I don't know why I always had this number of somewhere between 30 and 50%. It would get down to about that low, just as a rough shot estimate. We'll see if that holds up.
Yeah, we're seeing that's exactly 3 months from the date of recording of this episode. So be something we can look back in 3 months and see whether they're completely run dry or if there's still some kitty in the tank. James Seyfarth of Bloomberg Intelligence has said that he expects outflows to slow down from here after Genesis has apparently officially liquidated their $2.1 billion of GBTC, which is according to data from Arkham Intelligence. So potentially see an outflows slow from here for GBTC.
As long as they've got this big of a bag, they're a bit of a wild card. He gave an example of April 3rd of 75 million that left the fund, which was down. But I saw a tweet today, and it's unconfirmed and everything, but of 303 million going out today. But the price is still pumping today, so I don't know, something's up. But they're a bit of a wild card as long as they're around, as long as they're holding this big of a bag, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. Considering the fact that I think they're still the second largest ETF out there, they still hold way too much market power. When you can sell you're selling 5,000 Bitcoin a day. That's not small potatoes. Something to worth watching. One thing that's interesting is BlackRock has added Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, UBS, and Citadel as authorized participants on their ETF, which means that they can redeem and mint new ETF shares. This is growing their initial list of only 4 participants and more than doubling it. So that's pretty good news. You want more authorized participants because that will help make sure that it stays and matches the price of Bitcoin. If you can redeem the Bitcoin for the shares for cash, if it drops too low, then it goes too high, or if it drops too low, you can mint some for less than it's worth. It should ideally help keep the ETFs on peg through this arbitrage. That is a good sign. The fact that BlackRock feels the need to add more means that they want to ensure that it matches Bitcoin. Have you seen this news out of China?
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up, because I thought when I read this story, I was like, oh, that means more asset managers can recommend Bitcoin, but it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It's more about keeping the price stable and reducing the effects of arbitrage, but still positive story. Not as bullish as I initially read it. But yeah, they're a bit of a tease story, but still bullish out of China. 2 of China's largest fund management firms have recently been reported to be filing applications for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Harvest Global and Southern Fund. I think Southern Fund is the one that's known for having the futures product. They were the first ones in or something like that. But anyway, industry insiders anticipate the ETFs focused on cryptocurrencies won't receive approval to the second quarter of 2024, but we're getting into that. So hopefully we'll see some movement out of Hong Kong, bullish news. I was excited when I first read these tweets, but a bit of nothing here. There's no pending ETFs, but applications going in. We'll see if they have the same struggles as the decade-long fight we had in the United States. They seem more willing to get on board a little faster, so I'm optimistic for something this year.
I'm optimistic. I think they need something to prop up their stock market, and so the Bitcoin spot ETFs would be a big green candle on the rest of their rather red stock market. So I would assume we see something sooner rather than later, because asset managers need something, and they want to keep that money in Hong Kong. At least the Chinese government does. So
yeah, that's one of the interesting reasons for companies wanting these Bitcoins. In the end, if you're selling things, you want the products on the shelves that people are going to buy. I thought that was a great metaphor. So they want Bitcoin products on their shelves, and they're motivated.
Absolutely. And you can only sell things for so long. And when no one wants to buy what you're selling, then you're going to go out of business at some point. So adding Bitcoin adds something to the shelves that people want to be buying. Looking at someone else that has been adding Bitcoin to their books, Athena.
Yeah, Bitcoin was pumping, and this was one of the stories that propped up that might be the reason why. But yeah, shoot.
Yeah, Athena's USDE. Athena was a recent airdrop. They've got their own synthetic dollar, and they're also doing some liquid staking of Ethereum. So they onboarded Bitcoin as backing asset last week, and basically as a goal to help build a safer synthetic dollar. And many market experts were saying this has been to be a bad thing, but the Bitcoin collateral has now exceeded $500 million less than a week after its introduction. It's about a quarter of its total reserves, with the remaining of its reserves either being held in Ethereum, which represents about 33% at 7 million, and then 353 million in liquid staked Ethereum, and then 365 million in USDT. So don't love the USDT, but the rest of it reminds me of DAI and Frax and some of the other synthetic dollars that we've got on the market. But a lot of people very excited about Athena and USD.
We're not the only ones. As the platform's Bitcoin collateral has grown, the USDE adoption is always witnessing a rise. Data from CryptoSlate showed that USDE's market capitalization has soared to 2.14 billion, with its trading volume during the past day at 364 million. So maybe a new player on the scene.
Yeah, considering I think that's maybe almost half of USDCs, that's pretty massive. I've got to double check that number though. Give me a second.
While you're checking that, do you want to talk a little bit about miners? So we have a Bitcoin halving coming up, and I've always been a little wary of investing in Bitcoin mining. Not that I don't want to do it completely. It's just such a highly competitive market, and you have such big players coming into the space all the time. As things merge into one, who's going to be the winner is hard to tell. But there's pressure coming in that there's going to be a halving, and the amount of Bitcoin that they're going to win from these mining procedures is going to get cut in half. And it's no given what the price of Bitcoin is going to do, or how long it's going to take to go up, if it's going to go up. But one of the stories that kind of highlights just a little bit about the risks with Bitcoin mining, it was out of Paraguay. So a lot of Bitcoin mining money has been going into Paraguay because they have
cheap electricity and a lot of it.
Extra electricity that's produced naturally. So there's a lot of reasons that they're attracted, right? Inexpensive. But the government recently introduced a draft bill on April 4th claiming illegal cryptocurrency mines steal power and disrupt the country's electrical supply. If this bill is passed, there would be a 180-day ban on mining, or at least 180 days, or until new laws are enacted, which is basically an undetermined amount of time. So a little bit scary. Difficult news for miners as they're looking at rewards being cut in half soon.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a small player, I worry about those as much. If you're a big mining group and part of your operation is there, it's a little different. But if you've gone all in Paraguay, it's a little tougher situation.
Yeah, just to add a little bit of clarity on the Athena story, they're about half of DAI's current market cap, but they're matching their daily volume right now. So DAI did about 300 million in the last 24 hours, but they've got about a $5.5 billion market cap. They're very close to First Digital USD, which is the one out of Hong Kong. So approaching that as well. But definitely a blow for miners when it's going to get even tougher. Although maybe this pre-halving pump and new all-time high is maybe bailing miners out a little bit more than before. Looking at it, when we looked back on it maybe 3 months ago, the cost to mine was around $40,000, and we're sitting about...
Yeah, I actually heard that as part of the sell pressure that's going on right now is miners taking advantage of that and their additional rewards that they're getting now that they won't be getting.
Absolutely. Getting onto ETH, I think ETH is in for some pretty great news. I think sooner than later, we're going to see some pretty nice stuff out of ETH. I think we're still sitting in that Bitcoin dominance era of the pre-halving, but JP Morgan anticipates that the SEC approving the spot ETFs will happen after litigation process. This is very similar to the theory that I've held for over a year now, essentially since the ETFs were introduced, and they're predicting that they will eventually be approved after some litigation. Penegur Tezuglo, I'm sorry.
Just the fact that you even tried to say that name, I'm proud of you.
He's a managing director of and global marketing strategist at JP Morgan, says that there's only a 50% chance of approval in May, and says that if there isn't an approval in May, that there will be a litigation process after May, and that the SEC will eventually lose that litigation process, leading to a approval of the ETFs later this year, aka the fall, but not in May. So this is a theory that I've held for a long time, and JP Morgan seems to be hopping on board. Bloomberg's senior ETF analyst, Eric Balkunis, has revised the odds for a May approval down to 25% from 70% in January, just saying that the lack of engagement from the SEC seems to be purposeful versus procrastination. There isn't a lot of positive signs right now for the ETH ETFs. However, I do think that we are likely to see an approval this year, but later this year, and JP Morgan seems to agree.
It's a matter of if. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe a early approval would be a big boom for ETH. But yeah, I think their day is coming. They've been, I don't know, lackluster since this bull market kicked off. I think ETH will have its day. I agree with you there. But while ETH is waiting, Solana was booming like crazy in this bull market. They were probably the leader of a lot of the Bitcoin top 10 market cap, that kind of thing. But they are struggling hard. The struggle is real for Solana right now. In recent days, and now going on for 3 days consistently, the Solana network has grappled with congestion issues, leading to noticeable delays in transaction processing and a large number of transactions being dropped. The congestion affecting the network is largely due to an influx of spam transactions, with bots attempting to prioritize their activities over those of regular users. This issue is exacerbated by the dramatic increase in transaction associated with newly released meme coins. And that is real, because I play around meme coins, and even with this going on, Solana is pumping out meme coins 10 to 1, I swear, creating an extraordinary demand in the network's block space and resulting in the impeded access for many users. Now, can the devs do something? The Solana development team is devising... I can't read that.
Devising some software solutions and some other effective solutions that were already being worked on, but it will still take some time, according to Anatoly. There's another big step forward that is coming, which is the planned release of the 1.18 update, which is targeted for sometime this April. It's supposed to help enhance the make transaction scheduling and making it more deterministic and aiming to streamline the processing and reducing bottlenecks. I love that they say bot spam transactions rather than real users, but really it's real users trying to buy meme coins first.
With bots.
With bots. Because it's so congested, so they need to use bots to try to be first. I know someone that was trying to claim their Tensor airdrop today, and they had to use, I think, X recommended gas to get it to go through. Reminds me of the ETH days, like some of the really bad ETH days. Solana is definitely feeling congestion. However, Andre Kroniak, who's from Phantom, rebuts the critics and saying that Solana right now is a victim of its own success. Everyone wants to launch meme coins there, and that's causing competition for block space. And he says that that's just a sign of growing pains that are typical of networks and that are experiencing rapid growth. And it's scaling pains rather than inherent flaws with the Solana consensus mechanism or other critical components.
it's
coming to the defense.
fair. And it's nice to see someone bringing up these points because I think they're fair points. But Solana is known for having some pretty severe outages. So we'll see if they can overcome this. But it's hard to argue with the fact that it's because people want to use it. So that's a nice problem to have. So we'll see if they can overcome this and get to the next level. But while they're struggling, it's leading to opportunities for others. And one of them is definitely Coinbase's layer 2 Base. So Base, the Ethereum layer 2 blockchain developed by the leading US crypto exchange, Coinbase, has experienced a remarkable surge in its TVL, or total value locked. They now surpass 4 billion for the first time. Base currently holds third among Ethereum layer 2s in terms of this statistic, total value locked. It's trailing Optimism, which is in second place with 7.68 billion. So they're about a little more than halfway there. And then the leader on the layer 2s is Arbitrum with 18.77 billion. However, Base is the only layer 2 to have witnessed gains in TVL over this past week while Solana is struggling. And its 30-day transaction count has surpassed both Ethereum and its rival Arbitrum. So Base seeing some nice numbers.
Yeah, Base is definitely seeing some nice numbers with over 50 million transactions in the last 30 days, with Arbitrum only hitting about 40 million and Ethereum hitting about 37.9 million. I will say this isn't surprising. Base is potentially going to have an airdrop. I feel 50-50 on it, but there are some people that are very convinced that Base is going to do an airdrop at some point in time. And so there are airdrop farmers that are going crazy on Base. And so that brings you TVL. And then you've got meme coins that are absolutely blowing up on Base. If you're not launching a meme coin on Solana, you're launching it on Base. And so that's going to drive TVL because you're hitting the two hot metas, whereas Arbitrum and Optimism aren't necessarily in those realms. Neither of them are doing airdrops, so no one's farming transactions. All transactions are essentially what you'd say natural transactions or real user transactions, whereas I wouldn't be surprised if you could see up to 10 million of Base's transactions, if not more, probably up to maybe 50% of Base's transactions being bot farming or airdrop farming related, if not meme coin related as well. So if you like meme coins, maybe check out Base if you're having issues with Solana, but also consider liking this video. Share it with a friend and subscribe. It really means a lot to us and helps the channel grow significantly. So we really appreciate all the love that you guys can give this video.
All right, yeah, please do share with a friend. Well, let's touch on macro real quick. Interesting numbers. Unemployment came out and basically unchanged or positive. I think there was this number of 4%. If we hit 4%, it's going to force the Fed to move. Kind of stayed steady at 3.8, kind of the main number. And then a bunch of reports came out. Just looking at it, they were either beat expectations or at expectations. So nothing scary from unemployment. So basically no new pressure when it comes to the job market to cut rates. Now we have CPI and PPI coming in this week. And if these things come in hot and unemployment the way it is, it should put expectation for cuts further and further out, which seems like that's what the trend is. We're 22 days away from the next Fed meeting. Last time we looked last week, it was 60-40 for not this meeting, but the next one that we get the first cut. And we're definitely like 95%, 98%, no cut this week.
We're 99.9%
or this
right
month.
now.
Yeah. And then the next one was like 60-40 last week, and now we're at like 50-50. So there's just no consensus on when this is going to happen. No real love for the fact that, we're pivoting soon. It could get pushed further and further out, just like a slow drip getting pushed out further and further.
That's it. I mean, we haven't heard talks of cuts in Canada yet, and Canada is usually like, we feel things first. We get the effects first, and we raised rates first, and we're expected to cut rates first. And we just had some bad unemployment numbers at a few provinces hitting higher levels. So I expect to start to see pressure in Canada for interest rate cuts by July, but that might mean that we don't see interest rate cuts before September in the US. So something to watch, especially if CPI and PPI come in hot this coming week. We've also got FOMC meeting minutes coming out this week, and we've got a lot of the Fed presidents speaking this week. expect this to be a rocky week in terms of data coming out and speeches happening that might cause the market to have sudden shifts in direction. So keep that in mind if you're out there trading. Some of the president's speeches and FOMC minutes tend to move the market a little bit. Keep your eye out on that. But let's look at that altcoin speed run. There's some pretty good stories here.
All right, I'll kick it off with speed. We have Aave Chan founder Mark Zello teases upcoming fee switch vote for Aave stakers. Okay, so decentralized lead lending platform Aave might soon vote on whether or not to turn on a fee switch and distribute fees to holders. If Aave DAO chooses to activate fees, they'd be following in the footsteps of the decentralized stablecoin protocol Frax Finance, which recently voted in favor of a proposal to re-implement its own fee switch. Also, decentralized exchange Uniswap is in the final stages of preparation for its own fee switch. So we may see this as a narrative moving forward as a way to share revenues within the token.
Yeah, give one thing that we've seen a lot of things struggle with, especially DEX tokens or governance tokens that are just governance tokens, to struggle after their first market and like their first bull market. So something like Aave, 1inch, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Joe could all potentially benefit from this fee switch mechanism to help drive more value into their token and to their governance system. So very interested to see if this narrative continues. Telegram has now enabled the use of TON to purchase ads. Telegram has been driving tons of value into their ecosystem by sharing revenues from ads to public channel owners and allowing users to promote their channels with TON. So this has been a massive pumper for the TON ecosystem and network.
And just a little throw on top of that, TON today is sitting in the top 10 of market cap on coinmarketcap.com. They are now ahead of Cardano and Avalanche, continuing to make strides. I remember when that first came out, I was like, Telegram, what?
Oh, yeah, I remember we were both...
Nothing's going to come of this.
Yeah, we were all poo-pooing on it, but no, they're doing massive things.
They're about to lap some people here.
Yeah, they're making us look bad.
Yeah, that's all right. They're not the first. Sui is our next story. They have a base camp conference that starts April 10th. There's always the possibility of big announcements. Sometimes it's like they're forced just to make announcements because they have a conference and there's nothing really truly big. But we'll be keeping an eye on Sui. They've been down a little bit lately. See if they can bounce back with their conference coming April 10th.
Yeah. Another one is Mantle's TVL has been pumping, both because of Pendle and ETHENA integration. So both of them have moved from ETH and integrated with Mantle. They're also an L2 on ETH and have had some pretty nice TVL lately. They're also having one of the best meme coins out there in the ETH ecosystem. Puff has garnered a lot of attention with a very effective growth strategy in marketing. Looks like Puff could be helping boost Mantle alongside the Pendle and ETHENA integration. So pretty big news there.
Yeah, exciting to see. And then we also have Solve Protocol. This is Airdrop. This is your bag. But it's also cool because it has to do with Bitcoin. So I was intrigued by it. But it's Solve Protocol. It's backed by Binance. It's a BTC5 protocol, currently doing a points program. And you can participate by depositing wrap BTC on the Arbitrum network. So if you're interested, do your own research.
Absolutely. And then the last kind of news in our news and notes, altcoin speedrun, ZK Sync, has a snapshot happened or not? Lots of rumors going around. I know that on crypto Twitter, there's this fake criteria thing that's circulating. I'm telling you right now, it's fake. It literally says this is a suggestion at the end of the screenshot. It's, if anyone were to, there's much more effective ways of doing those rewards. So don't believe that. But there's rumors, they've been talking about Endgame a lot, which released April 20th. And there's some rumors about April 16th. So has the snapshot happened or is that the snapshot date? Lots of rumors around ZK Sync right now. Don't forget, please do your own research. We are not financial advisors, and we do this really for your education and your entertainment. Please tune in next time. We really appreciate you watching, and like and share and subscribe. It means a lot to us, and I hope to see you next time.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.